Alright students, this is chapter 8.2 in Math 3. We've already talked about standard angles and standard position. That was the other video. So right now we're going to go over the second part, radians. Okay. The other video, if you watched it, if you checked it out, it goes over what exactly is a radian. The book's definition is definitely accurate, but sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. So watch the video, that'll explain it. What I want to try and do is just talk about how to convert, because one of the things you'll want to do at first is just be able to convert and know that things like pi over 2 is 90 degrees. And you're like, what, why, huh? So let's back that up a step and start with where it starts at. Okay, so if we start with a circle with a radius of 1, someone said, hey, you know, what if we talked about the circumference? And the circumference is 2 pi r. And if your radius is 1, that's 2 pi times 1, or 2 pi. So all the way around the circle would be 2 pi. So 2 pi, if you started here and went all the way around, I'll draw an arrow, coming back to where you started. Okay, that would be the distance around the circle. In centimeters, if it's in centimeters, or feet, or whatever. So if it's 2 pi all the way around, then halfway around would be 1 pi, or just pi, 1 pi. Okay, so the other way to think about this is 2 pi is the same as 360 degrees. So if we divide both sides by 2, because you're totally allowed to do that, you get pi equals 180 degrees. That's a handy-dandy reference, okay? If you know that pi is 180, you can break down from there and say, okay, what if I did half of pi? Then do half of 180. What if they have a third of pi? They have a third of 180. So you can use this, and then what the book had is pi over 180, or it's 180 over pi. So how does that work? Well, pi is the same as 180, so when you say pi radians to 180 degrees, this is totally exactly the same as saying 12 inches is 1 foot. Or you know, how many ounces in a gallon, or how many liters in a gallon, or whatever it is. It's a ratio. So 12 inches per foot, or 36 inches per yard, or how many feet per mile. That's what it is. So sometimes you have radians to degrees, and sometimes you have 180 degrees on top and radians on bottom. So how do you know when to use each one? Well, let's talk about that. It's real easy. Most of the time, your radians are going to have a pi in it. They don't have to, but most of the time it's going to have a pi. So let's do that. So let's say you're in radians. How do you want to get back to degrees? Well, you want to multiply by your thingy and get your answer in degrees. So what we want to do is we want to cancel the radians. So how I remember that is I remember degrees is on top and radians is on bottom if I'm going to cancel radians. All right. And how I remember that 180 degrees is pi radians. So we get 3 pi times 180, so that's 540, 4 times pi. And what happens with the pi's? The pi's cancel out. So we can cancel them here, or you could have canceled them to begin with. All right. And it ends up being whatever 540 divided by 4 is. Okay? So that's going to be 1, and let's see, 3 and 5. 135 degrees if you divide 540 by 4. So 3 pi over 4, you multiply and you get 135 degrees. Yeah. Just to make sure this works, let's go the reverse. Let's say we started with 135 degrees and we say, the book says, let's go back to radians. Well, we're going to multiply by something and we need our final answer to be in radians. So I need to cancel degrees. So that's how I know degrees has to be on bottom and radians on top. Because the degrees, they have to cancel each other. Because think of this as 135 over 1. So we're going to put this as pi radians is 180 degrees, which means you get 135 pi over 180. All we did right here is multiply it across the top. The degrees units cancels out, and that's how you're in radians. Okay, and then reduce this fraction. I'll leave that to you guys, because I'm going to wrap up this video right now. Thanks for watching. Just kidding, I'm not going to leave you hanging here. 45 goes into both of these. 45 will go into this 3 times, and 45 goes into 180 4 times. So if you divide both of them by 45, that's how you reduce it. So that is how you go from degrees to radians, or if you want, you can go from radians to degrees. And in the beginning, when you're like, what the hell is this radian stuff? What's all this pi? It's natural to want to just change back to degrees. Honestly, though, the sooner you get used to radians, the more you practice it, the easier the rest of it's going to be. And don't worry about it too much, because you're going to see it all again in math analysis. You have plenty of time to practice this. You will become totally fluent in radians, and you won't even think about degrees anymore. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys.